Our founder, Katsuchika Okura, visited Europe in the early 1900s for the markets and was struck by the advanced hygienic and clean lifestyle that was provided by the seated toilets. That experience created a strong desire and determination to provide a healthy and cultured lifestyle in Japan and globally one day. Our founder Katsuchika Okura wrote a letter to the second president, Saburo Momoki, stating that kindness comes first no matter what, to provide good products and satisfy our consumers, and that is our fundamental principle. His letter became our corporate motto and has been passed down to each and every employee as TOTO's corporate philosophy for over a century. His desire is our fundamental business principle for TOTO business, and TOTO USA will continue to strive to create an enriched and more comfortable lifestyle and culture built on our plumbing products in the U.S. market. That's our philosophy.
The development of the water savings toilets that helped revolutionize the water savings movement in the United States can be traced back to the 1970s. In 1973, Japan's Ministry of Construction concluded that the country lacked roughly 2 billion square meters of water that its metropolitan areas needed for their citizens, despite the dam development of river water to assist the population. With Japanese citizens feeling the water drought, water conservation awareness in cities skyrocketed. TOTO Limited took a revolutionary approach and focused their product development on water-saving toilets.
Well, in order to cut the water usage from 3.5 gallons per flush to 1.6 gallons per flush, TOTO set to work on improving their Z Cyclone toilet technology. To accomplish this, they erected a 6-story temporary structure equipped with clear pipes, allowing our engineers to meticulously track the movement of waste through the plumbing system. A thorough approach, which focused on understanding the dynamics of water flow and used Cyclone to ensure that it would flush completely with low water consumption level. I believe our resistance is the strength that enabled significant improvements in the product's performance. The CW703 model, which was developed through these persistent efforts, achieved an impressive water usage level of 1.6 GPF and was successfully launched in the US. I believe that it made an important milestone in our water-saving technology.
Over the next decade, research through the 6-story temporary structure, the Z-Siphon flushing system, and other groundbreaking efforts helped to develop the CS Series water savings toilet line, achieving a substantial 30% reduction in water use in the siphon and wash toilets. However, in the mid-1980s, the shared environmental challenges of two nations served as an opportunity for TOTO to provide both their product expertise and recent advances in water-saving toilets to alleviate the water crisis in North America. And it started with the determination of TOTO to expand globally.
I started writing a lot of letters to people, especially in Massachusetts and New York and eastern states, trying to persuade them that if they required lower volume plumbing fixtures, especially toilets, which were the primary consumers, that maybe they could solve their problems without building a bigger and new sewage treatment plant. And that was the motivation that actually eventually caused Massachusetts to change their plumbing code to clean up Boston Harbor to require 1.6 gallon per flush toilets in Massachusetts in 1987. That change brought about a big turmoil in the plumbing manufacturing manufacturing market. And it was then that we got the first TOTO product, which was the CST 703.
The CST 703.1.6 GPF toilet was the perfect match to the needs of Gunner and Massachusetts. Yet it took some convincing and ingenuity by Gunner to convince plumbers and the eventual public of its benefits.
Well, in the beginning, plumbers were very reluctant. They didn't want callbacks, and they were afraid to try something that hadn't been tested by them. And so it took demonstrating to them. When the plumbers discovered that the TOTO toilet really did work, they got excited about it, and they started advocating it to other plumbers.
After the rapid market adoption of the 1.6 GPF in Massachusetts and the Northeast, it didn't take long before other states adopted their 1.6 GPF standards themselves. Especially California, eerily similar to the droughts of the 1970s, from 1986 to 1992, California experienced yet again an unprecedented period of water shortages due to extreme drought. In response, and with the previous decade's challenges still painfully fresh on their minds, water agencies and local governments again began implementing restrictions and enacting new steps to reduce water consumption. Similar to Gunner's experience in Massachusetts, California plumbers and citizens needed convincing that the 1.6 gallons per flush was going to work. Yet 1992 changed everything. In 1992, the U.S. Congress passed the Environmental Policy Act of 1992, aimed to conserve energy and water in the United States, among other natural resources conservation goals. Importantly, the law mandated maximum water consumption for toilets at 1.6 gallons per flush, urinals at 1.0 gallons per flush, faucets at 2.5 gallons per minute, and 2.5 gallons per minute for shower heads.
TOTO learned of the U.S. government's Energy Policy Act of 1992, which mandated 1.6 gallons per flush toilets, alongside pressing water shortages in states like California and regions like the Northeast and the South. And we became aware of a significant business opportunity in the United States. TOTO's high-performance, water-saving 1.6 gallon per flush toilet has set new standards for water efficiency and performance. Reducing the water usage is easy, but to consistently clear the bowl on the first flush with that water consumption level requires superior techniques. I believe we were able to differentiate ourselves from our U.S. competitors by achieving a feat with our technology and quickly became the preferred toilet for U.S. consumers and environmental advocates alike.
This was not popular with some manufacturers, and, in fact, there was a concerted effort by many, especially key plumbing manufacturers, who opposed going below as low as the 1.6 gallon per flush mandate.
The other manufacturers were very reluctant to spend the huge investment that it would take to redesign or design from scratch, really was what they had to do.
Much of the industry competition responded by making superficial adjustments to their 3.5 gallon per flush models by lowering the water level in the tank and limiting the total flush to 1.6 gallons. Clogged toilets, double flushing, and overall dissatisfaction caused a wave of backlash from consumers from the mid to late 90s. With this low consumption wipeout, consumers and distributors alike were simply hesitant to believe in 1.6 performance. TOTO, however, was prepared and implemented a formidable strategy utilizing consumer satisfaction studies. These were circulated into as many markets as possible to spread the word how well our products were received under real-world use scenarios. In a step that would be a hallmark of the next 3 decades, TOTO took a 3-pronged approach. First, develop world-class, ultra-efficient, and high-performing plumbing products. Second, work with industry and trade professionals to test and prove performance of TOTO products. Third, work hand-in-hand with national, state, and local representatives to help set guidelines while helping meet consumer demand through rebate programs.
I was hired as a consultant by the Metropolitan Water District in 1993 to manage a very successful toilet replacement program in Southern California, designed to get consumers to replace their aging toilets, usually 3.5 gallons, with brand new 1.6 gallon products from multiple manufacturers in Southern California. Over 1 million toilets were replaced in that program. One of the largest participants was TOTO. CST 703 single flush basic toilet was probably the largest participant in terms of volume. Our program purchased many truckloads of CST 703s and 704s and then gave them to customers in the program.
The CW 703 model, sold as the CST 703 in the United States at that time, is a significant milestone in water-saving toilet technology. And it achieved an astonishingly low water consumption level of 1.6 gallons per flush. Water-saving toilets led not only to increase the customer satisfaction significantly, but also highly evaluated by global product evaluation services, and it has been recognized as one of the best products in the world. This achievement with TOTO's water-saving technology and its quality performance was the first step toward captivating our consumers, and by continuing our efforts, I believe that it will solidify TOTO's reputation and will help continue expand the TOTO fans.
Now, shortly thereafter, in order to retain the edge on the marketplace, we introduced Power Gravity and G-Max models. And what this entailed was just a brand new revolutionary approach, ground up, and I'll use an analogy. So essentially, if I have 2 buckets of water, and one bucket has a 2-inch drain plug, another one has a 3-inch plug, and I remove those plugs, which one's gonna drain quicker? Well, the one with a 3-inch. There's a larger diameter, bigger flow coming out. So we took these basic principles and we applied it to the toilet design. So it all started in the tank. We now have increased flow rate coming out, and with a computer generated modeling that we employed for the bowls, we were able to maintain that flow rate going into the bowl through the trap with laminar flow and increasing our siphon power. And so again, if I say 703 and 704 put us on the map, the G-Max and Power Gravity really put us over the top at that time. That's where the magic is made. And what we saw shortly thereafter was a broad approach and embracing of water conservation. And so shortly thereafter, we saw the emergence of 1.28 gallon per flush technologies.
Bill Gawley, my MAP partner, and I to be commissioned to develop a specification on flush performance. That is what ultimately became MAP, which stands for Maximum Performance Testing. The first MAP report was released in December of 2003. During that time, we researched different means of assessing flush performance, including the use of soybean paste, as was being employed by TOTO at that very same time. We saw the water wigglers, the balloons, potatoes, and all the other media that were suggested for evaluating flush performance, but nothing came close to the process used by TOTO in their laboratory. We visited that test laboratory at that time and watched how the toilets were tested. We then modified or expanded or detailed the test procedure quite a bit more and turned it into the MAP test protocol.
It's interesting, in the early days, and even before our LCAs, the US EPA developed their WaterSense program, and they actually were looking for companies like TOTO to participate in a collaborative effort to bring the discussion on levels of water consumption and what would be achievable and what would not be achievable to be brought into the marketplace.
And one of the things was we worked with Gunner at the time to introduce products that were more efficient, and they were flushing not quite at 1.28, but it was more of an intermediate transition product. And as we embraced the industry with other stakeholders like government agencies, EPA, in the early 2000s, what we saw then is the market transitioning to 1.28.
Starting with the lead standard where they were demanding, 20% reduction in water usage. So I think the 1.28, I think just was naturally driven from 1.6, 20% reduction will be 1.28. But for TOTO, I think the biggest advantage for us was that how do we test the toilet, right? We had a customer in Nevada who was, looking to build 5 or 6 mega projects, which is now known as City Center, and they were looking to get this LEED certification, 20% water reduction. And for us, when we developed 1.28, we wanted to make sure that 1.28 toilet would meet same performance requirements that 1.6 had, and there would not be any additional flushing or additional drain cleaning with the product. So we actually developed 1.28 and it would perform as 1.6. And because of our innovative trapway system and our kinetic energy and potential energy capture in our toilet flush cycle, we were able to develop 1.28 gallon toilets for TOTO. So this time, I think the EPA visited TOTO facility, saw how we test the toilets, and realized that they can get safe performance at 1.6 from 1.28 gallon toilet. And they felt comfortable, and that's how we got the MAP standards and the EPA 1.28 gallon WaterSense standard.
TOTO then quickly developed more design versions of the 1.28 gallons per flush toilet, ushering in the latest in water-conserving, high-efficiency products that worked. It was also one of the first in the nation to receive the EPA's WaterSense label. It took dedication, ingenuity, and partnerships to get the 1.28 gallons per flush toilet to market. Working collaboratively with the EPA and the WaterSense program, TOTO was ready to go to an extraordinary step no other manufacturer had at that point: a life cycle assessment, LCA.
Actually, TOTO and our team was first in the industry, actually first in the plumbing category to do LCA. At that time, we had worked with BEAS, which was part of NIST, Metal Institute Standard for US government, to perform this LCA, and we actually worked with them to quantify amount of embedded energy in water. So at that time, very first LCA we did, we were able to work with NIST, establish standards, and show that saving water actually saves energy. As a result, they updated their standards and included embedded energy water content in the LCA.
Now, what's important about this is that LCA gave us a chance to measure not only the product itself and the way by which it is produced, but also the way that product consumes energy and resources during its life in the home or in an office. It was an interesting time when EPDs and LCAs were part of this process. We were able to meet an individual that was running a company called Sustainable Mines, and we were working with Harry Swack to develop her methodology for measurement of LCAs. It was an ISO-based standard, but she had a real nice format to actually put a report out that would give that information to those who were working on LEED certification and construction. And by being able to have Terry Swack and Sustainable Mind provide us with a document that could substantiate that, we were able to be first to market with a environmental product declaration methodology and it was substantial.
I'm Terry Swack, and I'm the founder and CEO of Sustainable Minds. Sustainable Minds today is the only end-to-end product transparency solutions provider in the market. A life cycle assessment is a technical evaluation of all of the inputs into the product system from cradle to grave. And so what an LCA does is look at the chemical ingredients of all of those inputs and then attributes all of those chemicals to one or more categories of environmental impact. And so for a manufacturer to be able to claim environmental performance metrics, TOTO started using that streamlined LCA tool in their product development processes and started to make improvements. And when the USGBC announced LEED version 4 in 2012 and introduced credits, material credits for manufacturers disclosing environmental performance and material health, that's when Bill said, let's go for it. Let's do full LCAs and create environmental product declarations.
When we began to develop our carbon footprint LCA, environmental product declarations, and material declarations, the requirements were beginning to shift to how products would live in the building. We believed the best way to substantiate that was to understand how much energy is consumed in the product's production and, for TOTO, in the water consumption.
TOTO was our first customer for transparency reports. Bill is an innovator, and he was wading into waters that no one in the plumbing products industry had waded into yet, literally creating the first transparency reports and demonstrating those in the marketplace. So, for both companies, Sustainable Minds and TOTO's, it was a huge win for both of us because that introduction was super disruptive, really disruptive. I mean, all of TOTO's competitors got super upset. And some of those competitors were also our customers of our streamlined LCA tool. And they got upset with me. Why didn't you tell us about this? But, and it was perfect timing too, because in 2014, TOTO's presence in North America was only beginning to take hold. And this was something that catapulted TOTO much further in an instant than, the big names in the business at that time. I think put TOTO on the map as a leader in environmental performance reporting.
We developed something called the Water Energy Nexus, which is 0.0037 kilowatt hours per gallon of water, that enabled us to measure that consumption, and that actually became the largest consumption of the resources on the Pareto analysis. Electrification, ecotoxicity, carbon reduction, all were a play in EPDs.
EPDs disclose, or LCAs and EPDs disclose the environmental impacts of a product. The declare labels, the HPDs, disclose the material health impacts of the product. So it's by doing both that TOTO can be explicit and communicate effectively about both attributes, because both attributes have credits in LEED and other green building rating systems. TOTO stepped up and led the working groups to create the first product category rules for plumbing products. There were 5, spanning toilets, flush valves, urinals. Those are recently updated. In fact, yesterday was the close of the comment period. And to stretch the plumbing industry even further, TOTO decided it's important for there to be product category rules for bidet products and bidet seats. And so those product category rules we published within the month, and leading the charge, TOTO will be publishing transparency reports and material health overviews for their bidet and bidet seat products.
Meanwhile, while TOTO was busy setting the standards for sustainable plumbing products through transparency and third-party verification through LCA and EPD documentation, we were also working with partners in the commercial toilet space to help alleviate water shortages in the largest municipal utility in the United States, Los Angeles Department of Water and Power.
Than Fernando, it is truly a pleasure to be here, and it is touching my heart that TOTO cares so much about sustainability, water efficiency, the issue that is very dear to our heart.
This is Amir. He's the manager of Efficiency Solutions Engineering in Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Essentially, he's LADWP's water efficiency czar. He helps oversee the delivery of over 435 million gallons of water per day to more than 4 million residents and local businesses in the city of Los Angeles and southwestern Los Angeles County, California. He was instrumental in getting Los Angeles on the path to even further efficiencies and water savings, starting with the 2009 City of Los Angeles Water Efficiency Ordinance. He also collaborated with TOTO to install the first 1.28 GPF TOTO commercial toilets in LADWP restrooms.
How did your expertise and leadership influence the development and adoption of the 2009 City of Los Angeles Water Efficiency Ordinance for new buildings and retrofits, including residential, commercial, and industrial?
To be honest with you, I think I've been extremely lucky being there at the right time. And it was a blessing. I saw the standards there that were established to the US EPA water standards. I'm working at mechanical testing laboratory and managing that, and being a former plant checker and knowing high-rise, low-rise infrastructure and building stocks in LA, I started meeting with industry leaders, unions, contractors, plumbing technical advisory committees, and put a draft together, invited them to various meetings at Board of Water and Power Commission. It was approved. Then it was approved in the mid-2009, and I want to thank TOTO USA. During the time I was approving this, or I was working on this, TOTO came through, and thanks to Fernando, and we put some of the requirements for 1.1 year delayed in the ordinance. And we made it a win-win for everyone. I worked with manufacturers, I worked with contractors, plumbers, and again, I went to the Arco Tower high-rise buildings. And you know, the high efficiency has much higher residual pressure than traditional. Going through all this, and we troubleshooted all the problems in existing and new buildings. Existing and new. And then I presented that to various committees, and then the savings were tremendous to us. 20% saving in water consumption of LA, that at the time was 748,000 acre-feet per year. 20% of that to achieve in a 20 years market from 2009 to 2029, and cutting the sewer surcharge by 20%. That I had to work with LA Sanitation and city planning. It came from the manufacturers like TOTO. We are all working together. And Fernando and Jared, 2 years after that, all the manufacturers, they were calling me on weekly. They were changing their manufacturing line. This brought a lot of savings to our DWP customers, because the department started to give rebates on that. And when they saw, eventually when they saw that saving, and my original calculation was to the rate of 1 acre-feet, $3.76 per acre-feet. Today it's 3 times higher than that. An average American family in LA, family of 4, $608 back then. That's equivalent to $400 today. Per year. So we formulated something very simple that by looking at the total going to 1.28, 1 pint.
So in 2010, what we saw was the onset of a very severe drought condition in the state of California. And that lasted for about 6 years. Governor Jerry Brown issued an emergency mandate in terms of a drought. And what we saw was the California Energy Commission tasked with the effort to look at revising some of the existing appliance efficiency regulations.
We saw the AB 715 legislation, which required 100% of the toilets in the marketplace to meet the 1.28 gallons per flush requirement by 2014. TOTO was one of the early adopters and one of the first in the industry to bring us products for testing and to meet this challenge.
So we worked with the Energy Commission and Commissioner McAllister. TOTO collaborated with its trade association, PMI, Plumbing Manufacturers International, other stakeholders like IAPMO as well. And one of the things that we noticed was that was probably one of the best approaches to take in terms of being at the table and discussing with them what could be done with the entire lineup of plumbing fixtures and fitting. So what we did was we engaged on a lengthy process of discussion and debate. However, with much collaboration and discussion with the IOUs, they understood that you can't just lower flows without looking at the infrastructure, without looking at drainage and piping and how other things can be impacted. What we saw was shower heads at that time going all the way down to 1.8 gallons per minute. So quite a reduction from the Energy Policy Act, and even a reduction further down from WaterSense. In addition to that, we saw faucets being ratcheted down to 1.2 gallons per minute, as well as urinals going all the way down to 1 pint per flush. So those were the three most drastic measures that were taken in terms of reducing water flows. With respect to toilets, what we saw was simply a continuance of maintaining the 1.28 gallons per flush with the understanding of how waste flows in the drainage.
TOTO's always been a collaborative partner with IAPMO and many others in the industry like PMI and other industry players. They're a strong advocate for these water efficiency and sustainability requirements because they know it makes for a better experience for the users as well as for the environment.
Once again, we were front and center at that discussion. We were there with Jerry Desmond, who represented PMI. And so what we did was go through a series of different meetings and just kind of addressing each product type specifically.
I was able to open a door, I guess I would say, to a conversation with the members of PMI who really designed and manufactured and brought to market, high efficiency toilets and urinals. The accomplishment there, I think, was we were able to get into the statute a time frame for market to bring to market these HETs, HEUs over a multi-year period. Fernando and TOTO were there every step of the way, making sure that as we talk about HEUs, not just the flow rates again, but what do consumers look for in their bathroom?
At the end of those discussions, we came out with a win-win situation, both for the Energy Commission, for the IOUs, and for the rest of the industry.
So you can see the evolution from the 90s into the mid-2000s of toilets, toilet specifications, performance, and sustainability. And without the help of TOTO, I don't think that would have happened as rapidly, or maybe not at all. But we had great support from that company. We're overwhelmingly appreciative of how TOTO has embraced sustainability and product performance.
It's a wonderful feeling just reflecting on the accomplishments that we've had in our history since the early 90s. With TOTO coming into the North American market, we're going to continue to move forward, looking into the future with other accomplishments.
TOTO's water-saving products, such as high-efficiency toilets and eco-power faucets, are becoming important products for us to strategically expand our business in the U.S. market. TOTO strives to materialize three materiality issues to realize our corporate philosophy: cleanliness and comfort, wellness, environment, and materiality. Those three. For contributing to cleanliness and comfort, we use TOTO's advanced clean technologies, such as Cephiontech for smooth surface, e-water and tornado flush, and touchless products such as washlet and eco-power faucets and flush valves to provide a clean, comfortable living environment in the U.S. Also, for environment, in the effort toward achieving carbon neutrality, our U.S. sanitary ware factories operate using renewable energy. We purchase green electricity from the Georgia Power Company, approximately 12.25 million kilowatt hours annually, to help reduce CO2 emissions.
これは大きな CO2 削減に寄与している状態です。
Also,
でそしてまた2017 年にですね、US の EPA からグリーンパワーリーダーシップアワーというのを表彰されました。これ TOTO はですね、その
TOTO
US
is the only
EPA から
plumbing
効
manufacturer
率化の
honored
リ
as
ーダー
water
賞を
efficiency leader by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency.
それと
And our third materiality, which is connect with people, prioritize and protect human rights, including the LGBTQ, and promoting human resource diversity to enhance our workplace. In order to foster our corporate philosophy in TUS, we have established mission statement, achieve customer and employee satisfaction with kindness, aiming to establish trust and foster long-lasting relationships with our consumers, as well as focusing on improving the quality of our after-sales service. These three materialities are our priority focus to materialize.
As TOTO looks to the future, we realize that everyone in the company globally must participate. That's why TOTO has created its Will 2030 mission.
We, the TOTO Group, developed a long-term strategic plan in 2021, a shared value creation strategy called TOTO Will 2030. Achieve a sustainable society and carbon neutrality, provide wellness and comfortable lifestyles to all.
そして全ての人に快適で健康な暮らしをご提供するということを目指して社会的な課題
We will continue to contribute to increase economic growth while solving social and environmental challenges. In order to realize this goal, we must work together and materialize our materiality. Cleanliness and comfort, wellness, environment, and relationships to embody our corporate philosophy by 2030. We will also continue to contribute to achieve the SDGs through these activities. Rather than viewing social value and economic value separately, we will strive to achieve a sustainable business that achieves economic growth by solving social and environmental issues through our business. I believe that it is our mission to make the global environment sustainable and pass it on to the next generation. Towards the realization of carbon neutrality, we sort the emission into three scopes: promoting fuel conversion under Scope 1, and further expanding renewable energy utilization under Scope 2. We will continue creating TOTO products that provide cleanliness and comfort, wellness, and are environmentally friendly under Scope 3. Going forward, we will continue to accelerate our efforts to further expand the use of sustainable products in our society. TOTO USA employees, as part of the TOTO Global Group family, are a big part of implementing TOTO Will 2030. Continue our collective efforts toward achieving carbon neutrality for the global society, and continue increase the TOTO fans in the U.S.
Securing a more sustainable plumbing industry in the future will require partnerships, advocacy, ingenuity, and changes in our water consumption.
So as TOTO looks into the future, I think one of the things that we notice is the immediacy of where we are right now, actually. And one of the things we've seen is a paradigm shift that's already started. So we've gone through this water resiliency, water scarcity cycle. We're very well aware of it. And so California taking charge and leading the example with the most aggressive flow rates is one part of the equation.
The nexus between water safety and sustainability will continue to increase in importance. The need for research, codes, and standards development and education on this one subject is going to have a very big impact on plumbing engineering, installation, inspections, and operations.
It's an interesting next chapter that we're in right now. You know, the industry, PMI, its member companies all agreed upon lower reduced flow rates with its products with the Energy Commission in California in the last drought. If you go to a retailer or distributor today in California, you can only buy compliant products. Now, the next phase becomes, are the products actually being sold, purchased, and placed in the homes? And like you just said, the market penetration is exceedingly low. Even with requirements to purchase compliant products, market penetration 24 to 26% in California. Is it some more incentives through government funding? Is there something we work with as utilities? Is there something we can do as industry? And we're looking forward to that next chapter to actually accelerate the the infiltration of the market with the product.
TOTO can bring that attainable, aspirational product into their life. That will improve the overall outcome, not only for them, but bring sustainability and environmental convenience to their lives and to their way of living. That is my hope. That is my goal.
At TOTO, we know there's never a finish line for developing and installing more sustainable products. It is a continual practice that takes dedication, vision, compassion, and make no mistake, we have big issues to solve as an industry. Increase adoption rates of WaterSense labeled 1.28 gallons per flush toilets in the United States through advocacy, rebate programs, education, and partnerships with installers and community. Phase out the use of potable water to flush toilets and instead explore how best to use reclaimed water or gray water safely while upholding the highest health standards. Our water grid depends on it. We must work together as a community to reduce the use of forever chemicals and other non-renewable resources in our manufacturing process. We must continue to leverage green energy technologies to reduce our non-renewable energy consumption. We must work together to achieve zero carbon emissions by 2050. Yet, we remain committed to continuing to work with our industry partners and with a shared passion to achieve the ultimate collective goal of a more sustainable, habitable planet. This story is the history of TOTO innovation. We remain committed and passionate for a more sustainable future. Now we ask ourselves, what's next?